So yeah, was there ever any time you traded news?
I love this question. God, I love this. No, I don't ever trade the news. I mean, you have to just be very professional in this. Choosing if I was talking off cam, I would say,
Say a lot of things.
I just think it's not a very sensible thing to do.
A lot of mentors do it.
Unfortunately,
No,
unfortunately,
yeah,
you gather your students and you say, okay,
Crazy.
we're going to trade NFP today. NFP comes out, boom, everybody's going into the market. Like, it's garbage. The best time to trade is you see the news is coming. Before the news release, you have your analysis. You looked at the market. You say, okay, there's a chance that this might happen. There's a chance that this might happen. And mind you, some of the news has already been priced into the asset. Sometimes it prices in much later. So to now say at that particular time that this, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. So for me, I always wait after the news. You want to look at the market, see if we've landed, if we've done anything special, and then eventually that news will act as a catalyst in the trade, further down the line, as opposed to acting as a catalyst immediately.
How about these newbies now that their mentor will tell them
Yeah, they'll learn
he's
the hard way.
about to buy?
They will learn the hard
No,
way.
they'll learn the hard way.
Hello, viewers and listeners. Welcome back to the Trading Truth Podcast, the number one trading podcast in Africa. Podcast when they fear to talk true. Podcast whether they fear to break table. The only podcast that have so much evidence. We know they just they talk with they show workings. So do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel and our Spotify handle. And do well to follow our social media handles. We have the Twitter, which is the X. We have Instagram. We have TikTok. So do well to follow these social media handles to be able to get all these wonderful truths we are about to unveil to you. So let's get into the business of today. Everyone wants to make money, but nobody knows who really controls this money. From Nigeria to Wall Street, who they lose, who they win, who they use us catch cruise. In this episode today, we're going to be dissecting these facts without fear, remember, no favor, without filters. We go break the table. Welcome to our podcast, and please don't forget to like, subscribe, follow our social media handles on Twitter and Instagram. Okay, Mr. Chikwado,
Yes.
welcome to the Trading Truth Podcast.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. I'm very curious, you're a very mysterious person.
Am I?
You're
I didn't know.
a very mysterious person because I've checked, I've gone through your socials, I've gone through your Twitter, your Instagram, and boy, I can't find anything that shows a different thing from trading. Like if I don't have purpose of trading and I go to your page, I will end up trading because I will learn how to trade. So the question is, what is it about you? What is that thing that the world doesn't really know
About me?
Yes, we need to know because you are so mysterious.
I mean, I'm not. Well, if you say I'm mysterious, I didn't know I was mysterious in any way, shape, or form.
Now you know.
Yeah, I mean, so I think the reason why trading is basically the only thing you find on my page. You didn't see bikes on the page.
I did.
You saw
I
the
did,
bikes.
yes.
Yeah, I mean,
He has an interest.
Bikes are not really saying.
I mean, it's like
anything
one
about
of your
it.
hobbies beside trading.
yeah. I ride bikes and
You go to gym.
yeah.
Apart from even when you are in the gym, he will like quick one. I just want
yes.
He don't say a lot.
Yes.
Okay.
Sweating and all.
Yeah, that's necessary.
Yeah, so I want to
Always
really
in work mode.
Thank you. So I want to really
That's
know,
it.
apart from your work, what is it about
Do you know, when you now that you're talking about it, like
Okay.
if people say what's my hobby, I honestly don't have one. So it's either I'm on my desk or I'm thinking about a trade or I'm thinking about some fundamentals, and if at home, if I'm watching TV, if you come there 9 times out of 10, I'm watching something connected to finance. So I mean, I won't like to say I'm a nerd or anything like that, but I just don't think about stuff outside of
Oh, you're in it. You're in it.
Well, I just don't think of stuff outside of trading and finance, and maybe it's because I've also done it for a long time. I mean, I started in my final year in 2014.
Wow, that's
So, I mean, everything is just, around. And then I studied accounting too, right? So I've just been, even from university, it's
Yeah,
just been
so-
trading.
okay. One thing we know about forex traders, they like the lifestyle. They post about the lifestyle.
Yeah,
the
but
big
that's
cars.
that's very far from
Apart
me.
from the bicycles on your page, do you have this IQ of showing your lifestyles, or were you doing that before until you stopped, or you've always been that way? You don't want to show what you're doing.
Yeah,
Maybe
okay. Yeah, well, so I've never been the lifestyle person. Like I've never ever. And to be honest with you, if it wasn't the fact that trading, and of course my business required me to be on social media, you won't see anything about me on social media. That's that's really how I am. So and one of the things I see with lifestyle is that the lifestyle just tends to, they will say, oh, it inspires, yes, in one hand, but on the other hand, it gives it portrays the industry in a way that it is not.
Yeah.
oh,
And it portrays the industry. So let's just say, for instance, you come on my social media page, and you see, let's say you see some Lamborghinis, you see whatever, right? And you see an apartment, you don't know if it's mine. Now, when you see all of those things, the first thing that comes to your mind is you don't think about how long it would have taken the person
True.
to get there. People don't think about the work that you have to put in. People don't think about so many. And then, I mean, for instance, I mentor too, and then one of the things I see is people come to the academy after 3 months. They're like, okay, how soon can I start making money? I mean, this thing took me.
I
It
will
took
buy
me a long
Lambo.
time.
like yes.
So, and it's the lifestyle that makes people look at this in that
right,
direction,
right.
and also a personality thing, right? So I like to, and also in this space, I want to be known for the education aspect. So it is what you want to portray, and I honestly know it's definitely going to take me much longer time. There are people that don't know me, right?
Exactly.
There are people that don't know
The
me.
big work you do.
Well, yeah, they don't know me. And let's say if I tell someone that I've been doing this since 2014, 2014, have you been around for that? Yes, I've been around for that long. I've done it for a long
When I
time.
need the kids.
And I've seen some things. I've seen
Lots.
traders come and go. I've
Mm.
seen a whole lot.
You've taken losses.
I've taken everybody has taken quite a beating.
It was yeah.
No, everybody has taken quite a beating. If you are going to take, very huge beatings in the market, and for someone like me, I mean, for instance, I have a mark here on my hand. I had this crash on my bike, and I crashed today, and I went to buy another bike the following day.
You see,
Amazing.
So,
It's
so,
so
see, so
into
now
it.
imagine me. I'll now take a loss in the market, and you now tell me that I lost money. I mean,
it doesn't
yeah, so
really
that
get
resilience
to-
has to be there.
There,
And, it
right.
just goes to every area of my life.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you saying that those traders that show their lifestyle, because Forex is lifestyle, those traders that show their flashy cars, sports cars, their vacation, Maldives, every single, like if you go to a Forex trader's Instagram account and you don't have money, you'll be depressed because of what they show. Do you think that what they are doing is putting unnecessary pressure on the people that really wants to trade? Do you think it's affecting people? Okay, let's put it this way. Do you think because of the lifestyle that they show, many upcoming traders are forced to put in money without calculating the risks
Yeah.
involved of it?
Yeah, so I think this thing you just said is a very important question that, it's within the industry. So, I mean, I'm not going to come to a man's page and tell him what to push, right?
Right.
But there is a point you get to, you just know that what you do has an impact.
On people.
If I get to your page and, you show certain lifestyle, and one of the things that does is that in recent times, traders have been on the ground. And I'm telling you, there are some fantastic traders that you don't even know. You don't know. They're not on
Right,
social media.
right.
Okay, now let me give you an instance. Let's say, for instance, you get hired by a top hedge fund,
Okay.
right? One of the criteria there is going to be stated in your contract that you are not to have interaction with retail traders. So the big boys who are managing $200 million portfolios, those, you don't know them.
You don't get to see them.
You don't know those
they
guys.
don't make
Oh, I
noise.
see.
Nah, they don't make noise. So one of the things that happens is when you come to this industry, it's about skill. And one of another big problem that we have is traders tend not to be very honest with income.
Yes.
right? So now let's say there is always this huge desire to blow the income out of proportion. You show something and say, oh, I just made X amount of money on social media. Personally, I always believe that instead of telling you that I made $40,000, I made X amount of money, I would say, oh, I generated 15%.
Oh,
I
that's
Steady
better.
sense. Yeah.
I prefer to talk about it in percentages.
Than,
But then the problem is that the audience, let us also put this on the audience and the people that are coming to the page. Now, if you are coming to the page, what you really want to see is you want to hear numbers, you want to see numbers, you want
Right.
to see, and in a way, you are sort of infatuated by that. You're thinking about it like, maybe me too, I want to be doing those numbers.
Yes.
But you're not thinking about the reality of what you have to do to get there.
Get there.
You're not even thinking about how much capital. I mean, if you're telling me that you are a big trader, right? And you have X amount of money, you bought this. One of the things I always want to ask is, how do you come about your capital?
Very important.
How
Why?
do you
Though?
Very,
Why
very-
though? Why?
Okay, so the reason is because we understand that trading is like every other business. It's like selling this bottle of whatever we have on our front here, right? It's like selling it. And in order for you to do well, you need capital. If you try doing business, I mean, I have business outside of trading, so I
Yeah.
know it requires capital injection.
Always.
So now let's say you come into trading and 2 years down the line, you are suddenly a big shot. It doesn't add up. Except you're coming from a very rich background already,
Yes.
where it is possible that you have a huge
You have
network
an
of
edge.
people behind
Yeah.
you.
Great.
Then let's say you're able to put together the skill within a year and 8 months. And then some people say, okay, fine, let's trust you with $100,000. We trust you with 200. We trust you with X amount of money. At that level, you still can't generate the kind of returns that you are boasting of, because this requires skill. You need time to be able to mature. For instance, I'm a swing trader. It takes time to be able to take a trade mentally on the daily time frame and hold it for 3 weeks. It takes time to develop that.
Very true.
Yes. Takes-
So you're not if you come in and you tell me that, oh, okay, after 6 months I'm not driving Lamborghini, you are probably a thief. You might be doing some other
There's
stuff.
something else.
Yeah, you're doing something else. Like you probably
something else.
we don't know what you do,
Okay, so let me
but it's
ask-
definitely not trading.
Let me ask you this question. So does Forex traders, because there have been these accusations, does Forex traders do money laundering? I'm very curious actually.
Well, the thing is, for one, I don't do money laundering, but as far as people trying to portray themselves to be what they are not, it's applicable in every industry. So now let's just say, for instance, when you bring the word money laundering into it, it becomes a very dicey thing, because if you say Forex traders do money laundering, I mean, you cast a very big light on the industry and you say, okay, oh yeah, EFCC, come and investigate this industry, which I honestly believe it's a very necessary thing.
Yeah.
Right.
The
Very,
reason
very.
the reason it's necessary is because, I mean, we want to be able to operate in our industry and be sure that it is seen.
Yes. yes.
And when people are coming, for one, when I'm teaching something, I always teach something. I say, what I am teaching is how to create consistent income. Not overnight Lamborghini, not overnight, because I just mentioned it earlier. For you to get to that level, you are going to need some serious investors.
Yes.
And to have the kind of serious investors that can back you
Takes time.
to be able to generate, you need time to even build the track record that they will
Thank
see.
you.
First of all,
Results. They will always
You
ask
need
for
time to be.
results.
So if you've not built the track record, you've not shown anything. I'm very sure you're not going to show that in the space of 2 years
At all.
that you just started.
Even with a rich family.
And even with the
can't
you
even
need
do
to be
that.
able to, you need to be able to show, you need to be able
At
to
all.
show certain numbers that you've been able to do over time. So now, if you come into the industry and within a short space of time, whatever, there's a Lambo, there's a this, you're flying all over the place. We need to check your income. I can say it very, very well that it's not trading income. It's not, because except you were rich before you got here.
Exactly.
Maybe you made your money from other sources. But if you make your money from other sources, don't tell us it's trading.
Okay.
Don't
A
deceive.
trader can make money from YouTube. He can make money from brand deals. He can make money from partnership. He can make money from trading. The fact that you're a trader does not mean that you're not going to have multiple sources of income from within. Because
From within.
because within okay, for instance, this podcast as well could generate revenue.
Yes,
Exactly.
of course.
So the trading aspect has to have there's multiple sides of it. But where we have a problem is when you just show certain things. I mean, you count dollar bills, you put it on the table, and then you're telling people to rush your mentorship. Well, maybe the fact that I don't do it, I'm not saying those of you are, now they do bad things. Nah. But like I said, it casts a dark shadow on the industry. And then on the outside world, people who look at this from the outside world, like, and that's why people who look at trading from the outside world, the next thing they want to think in their head is that, all Forex traders are this, multi-millionaire guy. You are like every other person doing every other business. Just like you're like the cement seller, the pure water bottle supplier, the whatever. You are like them. The only difference is that you are doing the business from the PC because you are a trader. A trader is buying and selling. That's what it is. So that's the...
Okay, there is this question that just because I've always wanted to ask a Forex trader. Is Forex a dump for Yahoo boys, retired Yahoo boys? Because most Yahoo boys, I'm sorry that this,
that's a very important
but I need to
question.
ask this because you'll be like, there's this controversial tweet, was it last week or something? And I think it was Williams Uchemba. He made a video and he was like, Yahoo boys, the time you put into doing Yahoo, you could put it into tech
Learn a skill,
and make money. And most tech from Hacksatan, most tech guys on Twitter, they were like, no, we don't want you guys on tech. Tech is not for criminals. Now I want to ask, because a lot of people be like, that money they get for Yahoo, if you use that and go do trading, get more profit. Do you think that Forex, since tech have rejected them, do you think that Forex is a dumping ground for retired Yahoo boys?
I mean, when you use the word dumping ground, it kind of gets really severe, right?
It's very severe.
It gets really severe. But
criminal.
I think one of the things that you have to actually know is that Forex has a ridiculously low barrier to entry.
Right.
You, in fact, I've had instances where you see someone, they come to the academy, 2 months, they're in Lekki charging money, and they are saying they're mentors.
I'm telling you. Like
I've seen situations like that. So that's also, and one of the things is to learn trading. It's to learn the technicals. I mean, to open MT4, it's not a very difficult thing at all. You can learn how to operate the MT4 on your phone, and you can buy a big wide screen and post trading view on it. When you put trading view on it, I take plenty of pictures. Nobody knows if you can trade. Nobody knows.
You can use Canva too.
Yeah.
You're addicted.
Yeah, you can put in some things. And when we tell you, and when we don't ask you questions relating to trading, when we talk about the fundamentals, when we talk about certain things, do you understand how interest rates work? Do you understand how an economy works? Do you understand money supply? All these things. That's when you really now start to see that, okay, these guys are very, very far from, the thing. So now, speaking of certain kinds of people, Forex is a very, very easy place for them to come and take cover. But the interesting thing is that if someone says they're a Forex trader, if someone says, oh, I'm a Forex trader, so therefore I have this Benz. I'm a Forex trader, so therefore I have, whatever, right? It's very easy to investigate. Oh, yeah, no problem. Oh, yeah, where's the statement?
that's true.
Show us the broker statement.
True.
Okay, no problem. You've shown us the broker statement, no problem. How did you come about your investors? How did you get your capital? That's a very important question. The capital injection is always the question. And if, let's say, for instance, you are the one doing a backward integration, you are the one bringing capital into your business. All right, no problem. You brought the capital into the trading account. How did you get the money?
What about the emergence of prop firms? I mean, they're giving people a lot of leverage now too.
Yeah, prop firms are very, very fantastic. Like, in fact, it was because of prop firms that people like us were able to, have an edge, right? So, prior to, as at the time we started this thing in 2014, I myself personally, in fact, how I even started was very funny. Prior to 2014, I was studying accounting, but growing up, my mom was already buying shares. And then there was this man that would come to the house. I was around 12, 13, 14. This man would come. He would tell my mom, these shares will do well. This bank will do. And then my mom would buy. And then my mom would say, don't worry. By the time you are 25, we'll sell it and we'll use it to start your life. That's what my mom would say.
He's a trust fund kid, actually.
Well, I'll tell you what happened to the shares. So eventually, I became curious. I wanted to understand how those things worked, right? And then at some point, I went to school, studied accounting, and I was very much interested in financial ratio analysis. So getting interested in financial ratio analysis and all those things, eventually, there was this girl that I knew back then, a friend of mine on Facebook. I opened her Facebook, and I saw MT4 as the background. And there was also a manual that one of my aunts had tried to use to learn how to trade. I went, I read it, didn't make sense, spread, pips, whatever, didn't make sense to me. So, I tried. And then after a while, I would start, give up, typical trader thing. And eventually, at some point around 2019, I was like, you know what? This thing has to work. I was in Benin at the time. That was before COVID, and I was watching. In fact, I was inside the room, and then my aunt called me because she had known that I was trying to learn Forex, and the whole thing wasn't working for me, and you know. So she called me and said, come and see this boy, this young South African boy. I got there, and it was Sandile Shezi, the South African guy.
Yeah.
So Sandile was talking about how he had made this much amount of money. He's a big time guy, and I'm looking at the whole thing like, let me see, me too. I can, I can do something with this too, right? So now I started, and I said, okay, you know what? This is where I'll now die with this thing. I've done this for so long and no results.
Yeah.
How long did that take before you started to make sense?
Okay, so it didn't. So between the time when I now sat down with it, after quitting and going, it didn't start to make sense until after COVID. That was like 2021. That was when it now started, coming together for me. But something happened. 2019, I said, you know what? Okay, I've learned one or two skills. Chat patterns, this and that, sending channels, technical analysis. Okay, how do I make money? No capital. I was staying in Lagos. I was staying with a friend at the time. Oh yeah, how do we get capital? And then this guy's like, you get this, my friend. They trade Forex, so I'm gonna bring money. And then he pulls money from different people. Let me tell you, he pulls money from different people. He gets his friends. They bring the money together, and I put it in a trading account. And I start trading. And I did one very nasty thing. Like, there was a very, very devastating mistake I made at the time, because you don't understand how certain things work. You might understand how to operate your MT4.
Basics, yeah.
You can understand how to draw chart patterns, but you don't understand the dynamics of the market. You don't understand. You don't understand that no 2 months are equal. No 2 weeks are the same.
Yes.
So many things you don't know. So I now said, okay, no problem. I started trading people's money. And I was saying, don't worry, every week I'll give you 10% of your money.
Hey.
Do you know that 10%, that period was a very ridiculous period of my life, because I had to trade so aggressively and I had to subject the money to a lot of risk just to generate, because on Friday I knew I had to pay out 10%.
Pressure.
So
Pressure on yourself.
the pressure was, so I had to trade with a lot of blood rush at the time. So on Monday like this, I'm already thinking of Friday. And I'm forcing trades that are not there. I'm taking trades that are not there. Excuse me. I'm taking trades that are not there. So after a while, I'm like, how am I going to keep up with this thing? So something happened one Friday. It was NFP, and I was trading USD CHF. So I went into the market, and I think I dropped about. I threw risk management out of the window. It was 2019, and I went very hard on the market. Before the end of that trading day, I made $1,000 on the market. And that $1,000 would turn out to be the biggest mistake ever, because there is a certain amount of money you should not make as a beginner.
Really?
Yes.
To mess up your psychology.
Because when you make that money,
You feel like you've arrived.
you feel invincible. You feel like
overconfidence.
yeah, you
steps
get
in.
You start losing.
yeah. So I made that $1,000. I withdrew it. Then the $1,000 was like 350K. I withdrew the money. So the money be this. So
Bola.
I just told myself, I don't blow.
Alright.
That was the first thing that came to my mind. So
People don't mentor themselves.
you know that kind of,
Yes, no.
so I told myself, I don't blow. And what I did was, I withdrew the money, looked at it in my bank account. I said, yes, it's real money. I put it back in my trading account. And that was the Friday. That was the end of the trading week. And then the following week, I now came to make the same $1,000. And I was bleeding out the account like hell.
And me too.
And now this was not just my money, but people's money.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And that's why I made a video sometime where I said, don't ever tell an investor I'm going to give you X amount of money.
Yeah.
Because I have the experience to back it up. So after that, the following week, I blew the accounts. The entire money was gone. To make matters worse, that was when these people, binary.com, when I think they are now what they even call them these days again, Seth. I think I've forgotten the name they called them anyway, but then they're the guys that have the VIX, volatility 75, those guys, there's a new name they call them. Yeah, so then when I said, okay, that means these people that and I was watching social media then, people that are trading they seem to make faster money. And that's exactly the problem. And that's why I will never post like, oh, this is the amount of money that's coming from this trade.
No.
I'll show you the before and after the setup. If you like, believe I took the trade, that's your problem.
Does more harm than good.
So I'm like, these people, and then I'm seeing people who are posting that they took an account from $500 to $70,000 on Instagram and Facebook. Then I'm like,
So crazy.
so you know what? Okay, let me just withdraw the remaining money. And what was left in the account after blowing up all those money was left $189 or so. I withdrew it and I went to put it on the roof. In fact, that was the fastest ever. The money just vanished in minutes.
From frying pan to fire.
Like,
And I was in debt. At that point, I was owing money. I couldn't pay back the people I was owing. I couldn't pay back investors. I couldn't pay back anything. I'm like, okay, you know what? This is the lowest it can ever get. So what do I do? In fact, at the time, it became more difficult to, survive. I left Lagos. I went back home, and I put everything aside and I started learning afresh again. So after a while, I have this my friend. His twin brother came. He said, you know what? I'm going to help you. I've seen what you are doing with trading. The only thing you think about is trading. Your whole computer is trading. Like I had like over 5,000 screenshots of charts. Everything was on my system. So he came. He said, you know what? I'm going to give you $1,000. By that time, dollar was now $4.50. So he gave me $450. Yeah. So that's how much it was at the time. So he said, you know what? I'm gonna give you $1,000. If you knock, I will give you another one because I believe you.
Wow.
That was what he told me.
Wow.
So he gave me that $1,000, and I returned to Lagos with the money, and I started trading. So I started trading with the money, and at the time, silver was doing very well on the market. So because how I tend to trade is I tend to trade a lot of things. I don't limit myself to certain pairs. But if I notice that one pair is doing well, I'll stay there until the party is over. So at that time, silver was doing very well. So I was trading and trading and trading and trading. And in trading that money, in 6 months, I was able to make my first million. And I was able to pay back everybody that I was in because, it's investor money. You have to give it back to them. So I paid back everybody. And when I paid back everybody, of course, at the time, that was when my Forex funds came out. I bought my first prop firm account, $10,000. Finally. Because it was prop firms, that's what led to this. I bought it and I'm like, I passed it, phase 1 and phase 2 in the bag. And I'm not thinking, I said, $10,000 prop firm. That means every week I can be making $500 from this account. I blew it in 1 week. That's really the thing with trading. I blew it in 1 week. I got another $10,000 account. I said, God, this one. I passed it again. To pass it is not a problem for me. You have the skill. That's why the skill to manage a prop firm account and to trade it to pass it are two different things. So the next thing, I blew the second one. I'm like, no. But of course, I have the money to buy prop firm account. In fact, at the time, prop firm account was like 37,000 naira for $80-something. That's how bad the economy has gotten over time.
yes, and then
It was 35K, 37K to buy a prop firm account of $10,000. How much did you used to buy it now? I mean, only God knows.
Crazy amount.
Yeah. So eventually, after that, I lost that second account, and then I got a third one. It was a 50K account. It was from that point that I started making withdrawals because I've lost 2 already. And then that one. So it was from there, the prop firm account. I got that prop firm account. And by the time my Forex funds folded, I had $430,000 with them. By the time they went bust and, that thing happened there, I had $430K.
You didn't get it.
I think they had
How do you want to get it now? Yes, now. So how I even knew was I was talking to my friend. I said, this withdrawal with the coin, if I withdraw like this and then because I remember it was end of August coming into September.
Yeah.
I just opened my phone. I pulled out my phone. I'm telling my month's not end. I think it was because it was month end into the following month. Month's not end. Make I quickly withdraw money. I log in and my Forex fund is not opening.
Heartbreak.
My brother, you don't even want to. So the thing is, if you, that's what I said. One of the things you have to tell us is you have to tell us how you got your capital.
Right.
Very important.
You have to tell us how you got the capital. So you could see I took a seed from someone of $1,000, traded with it, was able to afford prop firms. Without that seed, I would not have been able to afford prop firms. And if prop firms had not come out, I would not have been able to even get here.
Right.
So they are important.
Mr. Chikwado, so I mean, before the podcast, I mean, I went through your socials and everything, and I could deduce that you're a very brilliant mind. I mean, you're a great communicator as well. I mean, you have a lot of you have a lot of experience in the game that you want to
That's a
dish out to
compliment. I'll
people,
take that. Thank
right?
Yeah.
But I want to understand your thought process. I know because I know that you're big on fundamentals the most. Am I correct?
Yes, yes.
So I want to know your process. I mean, your thought process. Like, what process do you take to get your fundamental analysis on the go?
Okay, I mean that's a very good question, and one thing that I will always follow is that every single, in fact, one of the things that drives the fundamentals is geopolitics. So how the world is moving in terms of politics, that's one of the things that drives it. But you also have to understand that the core of every fundamental is what is the Federal Reserve going to do with the interest rate, or the central banks? What are they going to do with interest rate? Everything boils down to it. So I'll give you an example. Let's say this week Donald Trump is, having a certain conversation. They have a new guy in Canada now,
Right.
McCartney,
Yes.
the new
Yeah.
Canadian
Yes.
Prime Minister,
Yeah.
and he's now saying that he's going to fight the annexation of Canada. I mean, because Donald Trump is trying to say Canada should become the 52nd
Yes.
state, 51st state of America, and he's going to fight that to keep Canada's independence.
Of course.
So what is it going to cost for him to fight that? Now, if let's say, for instance, I look at the news and I see that there's an announcement, first of all, and the announcement is that there's going to be a tariff on America. And one thing you have to understand is that America is a mighty consumer. They import like maybe 3 trillion worth of goods annually.
Wow.
And look, I'll give you an instance. The tariff on American cars when it comes to Europe is 10%. But the tariff on European cars when it comes to America is 2.5%. So you're looking at a whole, is that 7.5%?
Mind
Yes,
you.
that's-
So, and now Trump is coming and he's saying that there is going to be a tariff increase on Europe. And people are saying, no, it's going to weaken the dollar. It's not going to weaken the dollar. These
It's going
guys
to
are already
help the
taking a
dollar.
huge
Dollar
bite
can-
off the.
Yeah.
So it is being able to look at the numbers and to see how it is likely to affect an economy. Because every single decision that a president makes, a governor makes, whoever it is, it has an economic impact. So it is okay. Now, if you're looking at tariffs, let's just say, for instance, this microphone that I'm using to speak into, for instance, let's just say it comes from, let's say it's made in China, right? And if it's made in China, some of the components of this microphone are going to come from maybe Taiwan. They're going to come from elsewhere. And when the components are coming in, they pay duties on it. There's a tariff on it. So let's just say there was a 2.5% tariff on the component. And suddenly, this microphone now, they now increase the tariff of one of the components to 5%. Automatically, the overall price of the microphone goes up
Right.
if it's coming from China.
Of course.
But now that will now have an overall impact in the general price of the microphone. But then the American microphone is wholly made in America, American parts, American products, 100% is cheaper. So what happens? You buy the one less from outside,
Yeah.
and you buy the one within. What happens? The factories within have more jobs. That's where you now start to look at the NFP. They have more jobs. The economy has more. The people have more purchasing power. They're able to go out and spend money. They're not they're not selling their currency to buy the other currency. To go and bring in goods. The economy is strong. So what that now does is that over time, the currency gets strong, and the currency of those other guys who have been hit with a tariff and they can no longer sell their mic weakens. Over time, they have to now lay off staff. They have to do certain things just to be able to keep the company alive. Because at the end of the day, trust me, the big boys have to keep the company alive.
Yeah.
Of course.
So all of these things, no matter how you look at it, the entire economy is married into one thing. Like it's all coming together into one thing. But then there's also another problem. If your economy gets too strong, and let's say, for instance, every single one of us in this room now, everybody can afford to buy Lambos and all those kind of things, everybody can have so what that does over time is that, it causes inflation. So because there's just too much disposable income, in the hands of people. So what the government is going to try to do is they're going to try to raise interest rates to force you to,
Detract.
bring some of those money into the government
Yeah,
system.
yeah.
And all of, so that's why there always has to be some form of balance, between allowing the people who have too much money and not allowing them have money. And the government, the Federal Reserve, has the opportunity to do that using interest rates. So everything is always pointing back to, well, let's use interest rates as our tool. Either we take it up or bring it down. not Nigeria is an emerging economy. What we do with interest rates here is very different. Interest rates are in third world countries or emerging economies is very different from what might happen. Here is a different kettle of fish.
Let's not go deep in
No,
Nigeria.
no, 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 no.
But
So,
but with the central banks involving so much in the financial markets, do you think that will put a strain in the financial markets? Or
I mean, the central banks have always been the central banks are basically the key players. I mean, they are the market makers. They are the custodians of currency. And mind you, if you have 1,000 naira in your pocket, that is not money. That's currency. They are two different things.
wow.
So
versus the flow.
no, money is basically a medium of exchange
Okay.
that is backed by something. But currency is backed by nothing. Naira is they can always print more naira. They can always print more dollars. And that's why you call it fiat. And I think since
that makes
1971,
sense.
the entire world has just been, and inflation is never going to end, right? So the only thing that the Federal Reserve can do, or central banks can always do, is that we as people, if you have an understanding of how the market works, one thing you know is that the central banks are always going to do what they're always going to do. They're always going to act in the interest of the elites. And then your job will now be to mirror what the elites are doing at your own level. For instance, recently, I'm on. It's not as if I'm a very famous person, so I can say what I want to say. Recently, this guy, the owner of BlackRock, the CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink, he was, haggling the Prime Minister of India about how Indians have, gold and all of those things. So basically, India has the highest amount of household gold. And that means there's a limit to which you can inflate them.
Oh.
Because, that's why gold, if you look at gold over the past years, it has been on an uptrend.
Yes.
Because the more you print money, the stronger gold becomes.
Good.
And gold at 2,000, whatever amount is sold per dollar, is far undervalued. That's not the real price of gold.
Really?
Yes. That's not the real price of it. It's far above that. But the reason the Federal Reserve, I keep trying to call them the federal government, the reason they're not going to allow you to see the true value of gold is they don't want to see how much you are being inflated. I mean, inflation is basically tax.
Wow.
Yeah, it's tax.
It's hidden tax.
Yeah.
It's the government taking money out of your pocket without coming to rob you.
They're coming to rob you. Yeah.
So they just print more money. The one you have is now worth less, and they use it to do what they want to do. So, and the guys at India, they have a lot of household gold. So there is a limit. So even if you inflate the economy, it's the currency they have is losing value, but they are gaining wealth in the gold.
I see.
So I mean, if you have an opportunity, buy it real gold or wear it on your neck. I'm not a jewelry person, but
obvious.
buy it, wear it on your neck, finger, whatever. If you choose to, well, it's.
But I mean, judging from everything you've said, do you think Nigerian traders should pay more attention to Nigerian politics, or is irrelevant to how the market actually moves?
Nah, Nigerian politics is it's not. Nigerian politics is not very. What's the word now? Nigerian politics is not.
It's not there yet.
No, not that it's not there yet. Nigerian politics
That's
is. It's not at a global stage, right?
Okay.
So it's not.
What about in Africa? Doesn't it like?
Yeah. Okay. So now where it begins to make sense is if you are trading commodities that concerns Nigeria. And let's say, for instance, you are interested. Where you might pay attention to Nigerian politics is if you are, let's say, you are trading in the mutual funds, right? Or you're buying treasury bills, Nigerian treasury bills that pays you. Pays around 22.5% per year. I think that's what the treasury bill sums 24% per year. And at 24% per year, the economy is going to inflate at a far higher rate than 24% per year. So the Nigerian trader paying attention to Nigerian economics, it might just be for the fun of it. And if you've chosen to, get into trading, personally, I would not really be paying attention, even though I understand how it works.
Okay.
But to make a trading decision, I mean, I'm looking at the U.S. economy, I'm looking at Switzerland, I'm looking at all these countries. So that's what really counts.
matter,
But Nigerian economy, because we live here, or except maybe you get into a situation where you have to consult for businessmen who are trying to move, funds. Maybe they want to buy goods from China, and they are looking, okay, what do we do with our dollar, right? In those kind of instances, maybe if you are that type of trader that people come to for that kind of consulting, then you should pay attention. But other than that, I don't think it's
Okay. So if it doesn't play so much role, would you in turn say Nigeria has a failed economy? I mean, do you think Nigeria has a failed economy, or we as Nigerians, we're not just taking advantage of the opportunities in Nigeria as much as we should?
Yeah, I mean, the Nigerian economy is just, it's a very complex economy because if you look at the type of inflation we're having in this country, I mean, I was just reading Bismarck Rewani, he was talking about, structural inflation.
Okay.
You know, where you're looking at, you know, the man who goes to the farm,
Mm.
it costs him more money to bring his goods from a farm in Zamfara to Lagos than it will cost him to take it from Nigeria outside of the country. So what happens? He chooses to sell it out there.
Yeah.
So naturally, we're supposed to be able to produce enough of what we eat.
Exactly.
But then Nigeria now imports $10 billion worth of food annually.
Whoa.
That's how much. That's how much. So now imagine if we were to just reach only food sufficiency. We could be saving $10 billion on, you know, our foreign reserves annually. But then we have to but it's, you know, it's a problem. So the problem with the Nigerian economy, if you can't say an economy has failed because there is still basically hope somewhere further down the line, right? And one of the things is that we are hoping that we have a democratic process that ensures that, you know, the right thing is done. That can only be a hope as far as I'm concerned.
That's
But
a hope.
yeah, it's a hope actually. It's a hope. It's something that we all hope that it could happen somewhere along the line. Because if you look at nations like Singapore, Singapore was a nation that was completely devastated in a far worse condition than what we have in Nigeria. And if you look at Nigeria, we are among the top 5 economies in Africa as it stands today. Even with
Even
this,
now.
yeah, we have a $250 billion GDP. Even though we are down from $500 billion in 2015, but $250 billion GDP is still, I mean,
It's still something.
well, it's the quarter of a trillion.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
It's still something. So you are still far better off than a lot of people. I mean, we're all very young in this room,
Yeah.
and we're lucky to have some sort of income. You know, there are places you get to, and maybe guys our age are carrying guns and fighting.
That's true.
You know, so somehow we are still lucky. But the only thing is that we want it to be much better than what it is right now. So I mean, to say an economy has failed completely where we don't have war, or we don't have, even though we have some security concerns,
Yes.
that's a different situation altogether. But to say the economy has failed where we don't have war, we don't have certain things, at least we're not having our banks go bankrupt. You know, I think
Right.
sometime last year I was making a tweet. I was saying that the central bank needed to recapitalize the banks. And when I was making that tweet, because I mean, if I was a central bank governor, I know it's time to recapitalize the bank. And then luckily after that, Mr. Cardoso came and said, "Oh, it's time to recapitalize the bank." It's not hard to see if you really understand what's going on. And where we have the central bank still making those type of decisions, I mean, there's still some form of hope. You know?
But so you think that the Nigerian economy is not a failed economy? Because there is this outrage out there. I think for an economy to actually progress, the security,
That's the point.
employment,
Yeah.
everything needs to be on point. And when you say Nigeria is not failed economy, in my books, it's totally failed. I'm sorry, I'm making this.
No, yeah.
Yes, it's totally failed because you can't travel from Abuja to the east, for instance, on road without being scared or keeping ransom to be paid. I don't know if you get me.
Yeah.
Everyday Fulani herdsmen, you go to work. You're okay. Let me say, for instance, now you're being paid 500K, like now, and you're being paid 200K, like 20. Let me say 2020.
Yeah,
Do you
the
know
20
you are
yeah, the
better
2020
off?
guys,
You're
sorry.
better off now. So the economy is degrading, downgrading, keep going down. So what really makes an economy a failed economy if it's not what we have right now playing out in Nigeria?
Okay.
There is no food. Go to the market. Serious inflation.
Yeah.
I need to know.
So there was a situation in Venezuela,
Okay.
and we had a similar situation in Somalia, where no, we equally had something very similar, something that came very close to it in Zimbabwe, where if you wanted a glass of, if you wanted a bottle of this water here, you pay with like 6 million of the currency.
That's
Yeah, and if you look at the performance of, for instance, when you look at a country like Vietnam, they use the Vietnamese dong.
Yeah.
So I think the dong is exchanging to a rate around 24,000 dong. I'm not sure, but it's in the thousands. Now, when we look at the Nigerian economy, right, I think one of the major problems we have is, as with every African country, is leadership. There is a strong need for the right leadership.
Right.
But then one of the things that we also know is that if you are a young person, you have an edge.
How?
You have an edge in the sense that, number one, you have youth on your side. There's plenty of time for you to race around. And there's plenty of time for you to
Make mistakes and
do what you have to
do
do.
what you have to do, right?
And I mean, okay, just look at, if social media was not in existence, if the internet was not in existence, someone like me, what would I be doing?
Yeah.
It was from the internet that we learned to trade. It was the availability of the internet, that availed us the opportunity to do what we're doing. And now, can I tell you, if you look at how difficult it is for young people to, you know, stay and focus and do one thing, it's difficult. Now, there's always a feeling, there's always a saying that I have. In the 70s, when we started having fuel crisis, people complained that the economy was horrible. In the 80s, people complained. In the 90s, people complained. 2000s, people complained.
But it has not gotten better.
But guess what? Even new millionaires and billionaires emerged in all those eras.
Very funny. Was true.
Just the exceptions, the 1%.
So now that's the thing. As it is, when you look at America, it is basically almost the same thing. Only about 5% of the population, you know, control a certain amount. It's like that everywhere. But where we have a problem is, do we now get the government, especially here in Nigeria, to at least have some form of people sympathy? And do you know the funny thing is, in fact, if there was a debate that we're having, and say, oh, do you want to earn £2,000 in the UK or earn 6 million a month in Lagos? If they ask you to choose, which one would you choose?
6 million in Lagos.
6 million in Lagos, actually.
Yes, please.
UK, that's no money.
Yes,
That's
yeah.
house
So
rent.
you see, 6 million a month in Lagos. So now let's just say, for me personally, living in Nigeria, there are only two things I would want
What?
to see. I want the government to deal with security concerns and deal with inflation. But I also want you to know, as someone who is, you know, a stakeholder in trading, inflation cannot go away.
Exactly.
It can't go away.
Because in 1971, they moved us off the gold standard. So now, after the Second World War, there was a Bretton Woods agreement. The agreement was every single currency will be tied to the dollar, while the dollar is tied to gold. So that means you could convert your dollars to gold, in 1971, prior to 1971. So what that now did was, you know, it means that the United States cannot print, the Federal Reserve cannot print any amount of money other than the gold available in the vault. And that's how it was. I mean, this money that you're seeing that we're spending initially started out as a receipt, right? Like it's promissory notes. Like I have gold. If you give, I mean, I'm not even going to get into that explanation anyway. But the overall, all you need to understand is that since 1971, when they went to war in Vietnam and they needed more money to fund the war, and they had to now cut us off the, you know, the gold standard, it means that every economy is now pegged to the dollar, and every economy has to now print money. You have to now borrow money. There's always going to be some form of deficit. I don't want to know how you want to do it. There's always a budget deficit. Every year we're having, let's say Nigeria has a budget of 6 trillion, but all we have is 4 trillion. Where are we going to get the 2 trillion from? We're going to borrow it. Either we go and borrow it from some bank in China, or we borrow it from our money market, from private individuals like you. And that's what happens when you buy a treasury bill. You're basically loaning the government money to the government, but you are loaning it at 24% interest or 25% interest, or whatever interest it is, right? At the end of the day, they give you back your money with interest. But the problem is when you take money, you borrow money, it only feels good when you've borrowed that money. When it's time to pay, you're going to pay capital or principal plus interest. And that's when it's time for us to start paying back all of this money we are owing, and then you're seeing the price of oil drop and all these things, you see the economy starts to really get hard.
You borrow again to pay your...
You borrow, yes, you borrow. So it's inflation is not going to go away at all.
Wow.
If you wanted it to go away, you probably need to do a reset, and then we say that, okay, you have 10 million in the bank, we're going to eliminate 4 zeros from there, and you're left to 1,000 naira, and then the elites are not going to like that.
That's not even possible.
They did it in Ghana though, but I mean, it's still, you know.
So I've really seen that you're big in fundamental, because I've really heard a lot.
Yes, a lot. A lot.
So now I want to understand, So I saw one of your posts where it's concerning the meeting between the Ukraine president and Donald Trump, and how it affected the euro.
Yeah.
So now, do you mean that fundamental plays the major role than technical?
Okay, so the fundamental is going to eventually determine where we're going to go. But for you to time your entry, you need the technicals for that.
Okay.
So let's say, for instance, and there are some times also, the structure of the market is king. If we are bearish, we're bearish.
You're bearish.
Yeah.
If we're bullish, we're bullish.
Yeah.
But there are certain areas we arrive at within the market, right? You know that if you buy there, you are gone.
That's true.
I don't want to know what fundamentals you have in game. If you sell there, if you sell at certain regions, you're gone. So the thing there is this: fundamentals will give you if you are a trader that trades long term, right? The fundamentals will give you a guide on okay, right now, okay, look at what's going on now. We have a situation where the Russians, is it the Russians? The Russians are saying, okay, fine. They're trying to talk about the ceasefire, the ceasefire agreement. But aside the ceasefire, the Americans are saying, okay, fine, we are going to agree to a ceasefire. We don't want the war anymore. But guess what? After that, Russia is going to be reintegrated back into Europe. Like, not like they're going to be part of the Europe anyway, like maybe the Eurozone.
But
But they're going to operations with Russia, business, Russian oil, it's going to go back as if nothing happened.
That's true.
So now, that need there would have been to print an excess amount of euro to fund war against Russia would not arise. So there won't be any need to raise interest rates again. That's why if you notice the last interest rate that came out on the euro was 4.25%. They kept it steady because they are seeing that, there are signs of, and then what they're going to do is eventually it's going to send the euro down. Even though right now it's trading up there, eventually it's going to send it down for some pullback. And if it gets back there, maybe the agreement fails, whatever it is happens again, continue to move higher up again.
So was there ever any time you traded news?
I love this question. God, I love this question. I love this question.
Because I noticed that one of your posts, you said you're going to take the trade after the news.
Yes.
So I guess so that's why I had to just ask you the direct question, so I'll know.
No, I don't ever trade the news. And I also think it's you have to just be very professional in this. Choosing if I was talking off cam, I would say, I would
say a lot of things.
I would cross out, but, I just think it's not a very sensible thing to do. To gather your people.
A lot of mentors do it.
Unfortunately, you gather your students and you say, okay, we're going to trade NFP today, and NFP comes out, boom, everybody's going into the market. Like, with your $1,000, $200,000, whatever amount of money you have in your account, it's garbage. So the ultimate thing to do is, when the best time to trade is, you see the news is coming, right? Before the news release, you have your analysis. You looked at the market. You say, okay, there's a chance that this might happen. There's a chance that this might happen. And mind you, some of the news has already been priced into the asset. Sometimes it has been priced in. Sometimes it priced in much later.
Wow.
So to now say at that particular time that this, God, it just doesn't make sense. So for me, I always wait after the news. You want to look at the market, see if we've landed, if we've done anything special, and then eventually that news will act as a catalyst in the trade, further down the line, as opposed to acting as a catalyst immediately. Even though we might see a spike, but the spike always resets itself. It might just go hit a low, and come
go
back
back
up,
up.
and maybe it will fill it up again. So it's always better to trade
afterwards.
Afterwards.
So if because I'll call you a professional, you don't trade news. So how about these newbies now that their mentor will tell them
they'll learn
he's about to buy?
They will learn the hard way.
I really want to understand here. Is it possible that it will affect them psychologically?
So basically, one of the things when you're starting out learning to trade, you want to avoid having very bad trading habits early on.
Exactly.
So
very important.
Yeah, if you have the habit of, it's news, right, let's do this, let's do that. If you have that type of habit, you are going to be a very impulsive trader.
Yes, a gambler.
You're going to be a trader who is not waiting for a setup. You're going to be a trader who is going to jump in and out of the market. That's not trading.
Yes, that's not trading.
So one of the things that you really want to do is early on, you want to avoid all types of bad habits, and you want to be sure that you're learning the right things. So, but me to endorse, is NFP today, and then there are days it could be good. I'm not saying you're not going to make money. There are days it could be good, but over the long stretch of time, it's not a sustainable thing to do.
Right.
Okay, why do you think before a news release, you see the spreads on the broker widen up?
Very massive.
Why do you think it happens? So now let me tell you, spread is a product of liquidity. So now when you have a market that is highly liquid. So basically, liquidity is plenty money in the market.
Yeah.
That's why the spread between the South African rand and the US dollar are two different things because there are more people buying the dollar. So the dollar is more liquid, right? So just before the news release, you're seeing institutions pull out their money from the market. It begins to widen. There's no liquidity in the market. That's why you see that spread widen in that time. If institutions that are richer than you are pulling out, why are you going
in.
Wow. This is just like a tip.
So why are you trying to go in there? These guys
Wow.
so after that, that's why and when you're trading in the news environment, it's against you. The reason it's against you, that's when you could even have a very huge slippage. You're filling out maybe 10 naira, the next thing is opening at 15 naira. Because, it's moving very, very fast. And, the spreads are wide, so many things. Why are you going into that kind of environment? So, I mean...
there's this very popular man in the financial market, Jerome Powell.
Do I know the guy? I'm not even sure I know the guy.
Then he's not popular.
No, you're supposed to know him.
Okay, Jerome Powell himself.
Yeah.
That's the Federal Reserve Chairman now.
Yeah.
Okay, but when you said financial market, first thing that came out is a trader. But okay.
So, like, what effect do you think that he gives to the market? Because I think at times I've seen several videos of once he steps up and he's just like, good afternoon, the market moves. So, like, what's that effect behind it?
The effect is that he's the boss.
The boss of what?
So basically, right, there are powerful men. So if Jerome Powell was the one having this interview, the markets will be watching.
Oh.
Because he knows. So really, there is this, the Federal Open Market Committee.
Yeah.
Of course, is always the chair, right? So the Federal Open Market Committee, they decide FOMC. They decide what to do with interest rate. They look at the economy. They say, okay, maybe we're going to do this. Maybe we're going to do that, do this and do that. So he is the voice of the. But the reason why someone like Jerome Powell has to speak frequently nowadays is to avoid shocking the market. Because in previous eras, before 1987, there was this October, the Black Monday of 1987, where you had the massive crash. Prior to those times, those guys were not speaking very often. The likes of, I think it was Alan Greenspan that was the Federal Reserve Chairman at the time. I'm not sure if it was the one, but prior to that time, they were not speaking very often. So once in a while, they come out, they make one announcement, and investors don't know what to do with it. And there's panic in the market. People are selling off, people are, all this kind of thing. So recently, they said, okay, fine. These guys have to be more in the news. Prior to interest rate cuts, you start to see him, maybe he will not grant a podcast, he will grant an interview, and he will not say we are going to cut interest rate. He'll be like, it is time for monetary policy to adjust.
Panic.
Powerful.
Now, that does not cause a panic. What that does is that investors begin to position themselves.
Ready for the big move.
Yeah, if it's people that are holding, maybe they've been holding assets for long, they begin to take profit. If people that have been doing something, investors begin to align themselves with monetary policy adjustment. So that's why he is the boss, because that announcement, he's the one that will make it. That decision. And so now the interesting thing is that the president of America does not have power over him.
Wow.
Yes, now. That's why you see Trump trying to, you guys should tell this guy to reduce it. Because if he's in Nigeria here, our politics is crazy. So the central bank is supposed to be an independent body.
Yeah.
Away
Of
from
course.
it's because it's not the fact that federal is there does not mean it's owned by the federal government of America. It's not.
Wow.
So, Trump is trying to push the guy. You guys should tell these guys to lower the interest rates, because he doesn't have power. If it's Nigeria, they can sack him. They will sack him, bring somebody that will lower the rates. It's just crazy. So that's why he's that powerful, and he's independent. He's by himself. Of course, working with a team, but he can make those decisions and say, okay, fine, it's time to cut rates. And if the economy is bleeding out and the rates are high, you guys are suffering. And he says we have to keep interest rates at 5%. 5% it will be, and nobody can do anything about it.
Mr. Chikwado, I've really enjoyed this section a lot, and
I learned a lot
Very
too.
insightful.
I don't want to even talk about this, but I think I need to take off my glasses to ask. I have two questions I want to ask you.
Okay.
The first one is, they say the market is rigged. They're always, because you're talking about him right now. When a trader loses, be like, they don't rig this market, they rig every time. So I want you to
Smart
tell
money.
our viewers,
Manipulation, yeah.
let's know if this market is rigged. It's just a way of pushing blame, or do
Oh, boy.
brokers actually
Manipulate
rig
the
this?
market.
Yes, do they
Oh
manipulate?
boy, I think the problem is people are just not willing to be accountable.
Thank you.
Exactly.
People are just not willing to be accountable.
People hate to be wrong.
See, how will you a market, the forex market is what $5 trillion, $5 to $6 trillion per day. How is $100 important?
What's the effect?
You put $100,000. How is it important to the market? That they have to, if they don't come after you, they won't eat. So I think it's one of the problems that beginner traders try to think about themselves. They try to consider themselves to be far too important than they are. You're not very important.
Wow.
Anything can happen to anybody. In fact, when President Kennedy was taken out in, was it 1969 or 19 what? In the plane, Eisenhower was sworn in.
Wow.
You can't have vacuum in power.
Of course.
So that's what I'm telling you. Someone that is a president is out. The vice comes in immediately. So even you might think you're the president, but you're not very important.
Oh.
So now, the thing is, with the forex market and people saying the market is rigged, they have to understand something. With institutions, they are not like you and I. You must understand how things work on the brokers. There are orders on the broker's table. Think about yourself as a broker. You're not participating in the trade. You're just there to facilitate it, buyers and sellers. Then you have 100 sell orders on your platform. Let's say those 100 sell orders is equal to 1 million in terms of the value. And then there is a client of yours that wants to buy 10 million. How do you generate the liquidity to feed the 10 million guy? What you have to do is you have to induce the liquidity. Because you are trying to fill an order. You're not trying to take anybody out. You're trying to have an order filled. You're trying to meet your obligation. So you do that, and then the guy who's trying to fill up, his 10 million gets it filled up. And now, how does that happen? The guys who are at the institutional level who are trading millions of dollars, you are seeing guys who are trading 1,000 lots, 10,000 lots. Not that you put 10 lots here and you post it on Instagram.
Wow.
That you are seeing, you are trading 10 lots. You are looking at 10,000 lots, heavy volume.
Whoa.
So that kind of order does not get filled immediately.
Okay.
So they have to bid the market at an area where they are sure there's going to be liquidity. And unfortunately, those liquidity happens to be stop losses. Because when you sell, for you to get out of the market, you have to buy.
Yes.
So when you're buying, who's selling to you? It's your guys on the other side. So the market is not after
not-
anybody.
it's not after
Put
everybody.
your stop loss. I currently have a trade running. Put your stop loss. Leave it there. If it takes it, it takes it.
Takes
You don't blame anybody. Besides, nobody is telling you not to use a good risk to reward ratio.
Of course.
Oh,
That's true.
that's really.
So I can afford to take 3-4 losses in a row and make it back. So it's not.
So the market is not rigged.
Nah,
I
it's
really
not
like
those-
that answer.
not those-
Now that we've
What's
talked
your
about
what's your advice to the new trader? And one advice you want to give to the traders with this knowledge of market is not rigged. What's that one advice you will give to a trader
I'll just tell you to
that is
just.
coming in?
I'll tell you to just be accountable. The market
For
doesn't know who you
yourself,
are.
yes.
Like you just
Just be accountable for your actions. Like, when you do something, don't look for who to put it on. Don't, okay, for instance, last week,
okay.
I got, because I have multiple accounts running, right? On one account, I got stopped out by a very tiny fraction, by half a pip. And then the remaining, I go back and looked at what happened. And then the remaining, the other trades on the other platform didn't get stopped out. I'm not going to say, hey, this one did this. No, it could happen,
Okay.
right? And if it happens, I move on. I move on to the next trade, and that's just it.
Wow.
I enjoyed this session with you so much. I feel like I should start trading
brain
right now.
orgasm.
I start
Actually
trading
learn
right
from you
now because
it's
you're
a lot.
really a nerd. Because I know you said you are not one, but you are one. And thank you for coming on our
Yeah,
podcast.
it's good. Yeah, it's good to be here.
I think you've really scattered some kind of
A lot of
tables.
things.
I mean, no harm intended, no pun intended. I mean, it's just.
No, I love how you were free and you said your mind. Thank you so much. And to our viewers, you've had what Mr. Chikwado
From the horse's mouth.
from the horse's mouth. The market is not rigged, though. Nobody is doing you, but that's from
Hold
his mouth.
yourself
though.
accountable.
Hold yourself accountable. And this our podcast. This is what we came to do. And don't forget that our podcast will always be available 6 p.m. Monday. What else do you think I wanted to say? 6 p.m. Monday. So you will like and subscribe to our channel to hear something like that. So when you lose your trade, Come back, sir. There will be a reminder for you on our page.
Abi.
Thank you so much. See you next Monday. Thank you so much.